Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levi, and joining me now is the man behind all the incredible MMA animations we've been seeing lately. I'm talking about Mojahed Fudailat. Mojahed, welcome to Half the Battle.
Hi, man. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, the pleasure's mine. Thank you so much for entertaining all the fans of MMA with all the work you've been doing. We absolutely love it. And I got to ask you right off the bat, man, how did you get involved in MMA? When did you become a fan of the sport?
Well, I started falling in love with the sport since I saw Anderson Silva. I wasn't knowing much about the sport until I saw a video of a highlight of Anderson Silva. Since that, I start watching more and more and more for Anderson Silva. And before you know it, you know everything now about MMA.
Firstly, where do you live? Where are you from?
Well, I live in Amman, Jordan, Middle East.
Thanks again for taking the time, because I know there's a huge time difference over there. And how did you get started doing all the animation? Because I would assume that you were an artist before you started working on MMA.
Yes, actually, in the middle of my study in university, because in university my major was computer information system, which is programming, which is I didn't like, and I didn't see myself working in the future in this major. So I start looking for other passions. I was known in the school and in university as my artistic skills. So I said to myself, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot, trying to learn, teach myself doing these animations. So in the second year, I start looking and doing research about the animations, and I found many ways. The best way that I fall in love with, it's the 3D animations, which is the hardest one out there. So I start teaching myself and learning from books, DVDs. At the time that I finished my university, I also graduate, if I can say, from another major, which is self-taught 3D animations. I start working on it since 2009 in companies and freelancer job, and now thankfully I have more than 10 years experience behind me, and it's all help in these MMA animations.
Was there a specific art that you did before you got into animations, or was that your entry?
Mostly I used to draw like characters. Like in the school, I don't like, I wasn't that kid who just interested in school or university or something. It's kind of boring for me. So I always bring my sketchboard with me, like a little book, and I start looking at the teachers or the students, and I start drawing them. And it's happened with me also in the university, but I always have these ideas in my mind. Like, I wish if I can make a story out of this drawing, because the drawing is still, it does not move. There's no life to it. So I thought like I should learn animation, because these ideas that in my brain is worth trying. And look what happened now.
Wow, I was going to ask you what draws you into the animation, but I think you just answered that. It's the fact that you're bringing the drawings to life, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And because I have, I guess, me and my brothers at the same house, we use always to have fun with each other, like just talking. Like everything happened like front of us on TV, with the family, with the friends. Immediately we start creating a story when we was kids. So I start with the story. Imagine if this happened and that happened and that happened. And my big brother came and start continuing the story. So in the family here, we are known as have a big imagination. So this is why I have the ability to came up with stories in a very fast time, because I don't like put an effort making the stories, because it came like a kid naturally pop up in my brain, and I put some tweaks here and there, and here we go.
Man, and I mean, what's the reaction been like to all the incredible work you're doing? Because for me, I'm just a fan, but I'd have to assume that, other people are reaching out to you. Maybe it's created a lot of opportunities for you. So what's the reaction been like to all your art?
The reaction, I can say, like, there's so many companies here and there, like, asking for if I do request. These things exist, and there's more also a freelancing job, and there's also connections, like with you, with other MMA media, trying to get to make an interview or asking questions, trying to know more information about what I do. And also there's also more connections with the MMA fighters and champions and boxing champions. Thankfully, now I have like many MMA and former MMA champions and boxing champions like I'm in connection with, and talk together sometimes on Skype or texting each other on a potential business relationship.
What was the first MMA animation video you ever did? Because the first one I saw of you was the very famous Coach Edmund one. You know what I'm talking about? Where he's at, with the lion. That was so amazing.
Yeah, but the first one the first one I make was for Demetrius Johnson when he defended his title against the winner of the Ultimate Fighter season. That was the first one. I actually, when I started like last year, exactly this date last year. So I wasn't like thinking like I'm going this far, because I just have back then like more free time. So I said to myself, you know what, I'm gonna just try to make an animation. And actually, I was left animation for 3 years before I came back. And the only thing that pushed me to come back to animation is the passion that I have and the energy that I have from watching MMA. So I did the first animation for Demetrius Johnson, and I started getting messages from here and there and from fans and from pages on Twitter and Instagram asking me and telling me, keep it up, keep pushing, keep doing, keep them coming, and good things will happen. I say, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. And before you know it, it's almost a year.
And obviously, you're a hardcore fan of MMA, because when you watch your videos, the details in terms of, you know exactly what's going on in the scene, in the fights. So, man, how are you able to balance that with, your full-time job? Because to make those videos, as far as I'm concerned, it's probably not easy, man. I mean, you got to put some serious work in.
Yes, exactly. It's not easy at all. But the good thing about the way I'm thinking, since I was a kid, I always tell myself, if I don't want to learn new things, I should be the best at what I do. And I cannot keep doing the same thing over and over and over without any progress. So if you notice my work, sometimes it usually, when I started, takes 15 to 12 days. Then I start reducing the time to 10 to 5 days, until I made to myself a challenge, me with my friends, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna reach a point where I have the ability to make an animation, 3D animation, full from the story to the characters to the voiceover to everything inside 1 day. And that exactly what happened last week. If you notice that since the last UFC 217, I made animation every single day for 6 days, and that was really the biggest achievement I ever done in animation world. Like if you know someone involved in 3D animation, he will tell you that these things are the most complicated, hardest thing in the animation scene. And alhamdulillah, I have the ability now to produce animation every single day. The balance now came between these animations that I do for MMA world and my work, because I work as a freelancer. I don't work like with companies, like every day I go. I have like contract if they have a project that need for me to be there in the company, or I have a project that I can work at home. I have the balance, because I reached the point where I can do these things very fast, especially after a year. I have a big library of the characters. Like I maybe modeled all the characters. Now I have all of them in a fight shape or in like in a cloth shape. So all I have to do is put the story, put the character in the scene, and animate them and upload them online.
Now, man, when you're writing the stories, I mean, do you have storyboards? Like, how exactly do you script them?
Mostly, sometimes I put a story before the event, and I say, you know what, based on the event, I'm gonna make that week. So sometimes, like, I make my prediction. I say, I put the story based on my predictions, and if other fighters like upset my predictions, I'm gonna tweak the story for them. And sometimes I have no time to create a story, like what happened last week. I just based on the news, based on the event, like last night animation. Suddenly, Conor McGregor crashes Bellator cage, and I have a million message, a million email. Please do this, please do this. And I woke up and I have no idea what's going on in the internet. And I just checked in, and I found Conor McGregor crashes Bellator cage, and I immediately put like 40-second, 50-second animations for the fans of these animations.
So, man, how far are you looking to take this? Because obviously you love what you do. You're always putting out great content. But now that you're getting the attention that you are, I mean, do you think you're going to be working for the UFC soon?
Well, I wish. I think it's the pinnacle. It's the top thing that if you love your job, which is animation, and you love the content of the animation, which is could be your entertainment, which is the MMA. You doing animation of MMA. It's gonna be like the lottery ticket. Let's say. I wish if I could have a sponsor, and I wish if I can have like a partnership with the UFC or with an MMA promotion where I can really focus full focus on these animations.
So, man, I know you're a very humble guy, and I want to know what your favorite work that you've produced is. I'll tell you what my favorite ones of yours are. Obviously, the Edmund one, the Darren Till, new sheriff in town, and most recently, the commentators for the Rose fight. That was unbelievable. But for you, what's your proudest work you've done for the MMA animations?
Depend on what this animation target, because as you see in the past, sometimes I focus in the comedy of the animations, and sometimes I focus in the art perspective, because sometimes the art perspective is my pleasure in these animations. So I'm gonna say, from an artist perspective, I fall in love with the animation that I made for Cody and TJ, which is named No Love. That trip to the pyramids, that was my favorite. And Tony Ferguson training in the jungle when he captured Habib, and he captured Kevin Lee and Connor. That also my favorite. And the funny thing about the video that went viral this week, the commentators video. Have you seen it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. The funny thing about this video, while I'm working on it, in the middle of working, I almost shut down that video because I thought, you know what? It's not funny enough. Like, what's the point of like making an animation about three guys staring at the screen, screaming, and like there is no scenario. Just bring the voice and animate the character based on the voice, and that's it. So in the middle of the way, I thought, you know what? I don't think this is funny. So I almost shut down the video, but for some reason I say, you know what? I'm gonna continue, and I finished it, and I thought, you know what? It seems really funny. So I upload it, and last thing you know, it's in Joe Rogan. It's in Joe Rogan Instagram page, then it's in UFC Instagram page, then it's everywhere. So thankfully that I did not stop working on it.
No, 100%, man. So, okay, we mentioned that you have the talent for the art, you love the sport, but where does the sense of humor come from, man? Because it's not just great work, it's hilarious too.
It's probably the environment where I grow up. I live in a home with five brothers. We have no sisters, just five brothers, and I am the youngest one. So you can imagine how a living between like five brothers, and we all full of sense of humor, and also the schools and the environment where I live, and the neighborhood and the friends here and there. It's all fun. Even in the university, I was lucky to have like friends, really almost like a stand-up comedy show, 24 hours. So I think this is also affect my personality growing up, and also affect the direction that I'm taking with my career.
And how does your family feel about your work? I mean, they must be very proud.
They're so happy and they're so proud, and I am so lucky to have them around me, because sometimes when you have like a let down moment, like when you're disappointed about this and that, you probably will think like your family, your friends, or your dad and mom will gonna tell you like, you know what, you have a long run now, it's time to try something else. But no, every time I think like, you know what, I should stop doing this, because it's not exactly going the direction that I wish to go. I find the opposite support from them. They always pushing me to keep doing this and keep doing it. You don't know what's gonna happen, and looks what happened. And every time, every update that happened with me, I always tell them, even if they don't know anything about the sport. And sometimes they watch the animation and they don't understand anything about this animation because they're not fan of the sport. They feel so proud after they see like what I started from the scratch and to the place where the top promotion in the world posting your work on the page where they have maybe more than 9 million now. It's a big thing. So I'm really thankful for the MMA fan that pushed the work, and I'm also thankful for everyone who watched and commented and gave me credit and posted my work everywhere.
Well, man, we're thankful for the work that you do. And what can we expect in years to come? Are you just going to, just keep upping your game, keep putting content out left and right?
Well, it must be bigger because there's no point of keeping putting the same content over and over and over. I think it could be a show. I think it could be produced as a short movie or maybe a long movie. But all these things probably need a teamwork, need sponsors, need like more than one man show to take care of all of these.
You mentioned how you have, a whole stable of fighters, at your disposal that you're able to use for these animations. Do you have a bunch that we haven't even seen yet?
No, because I model these characters based on the animation. If I have an animation that require a new character, I immediately will model it. But sometimes, some of these fighters that fighting, maybe even if they putting in a great fight, they're not super famous. So if I did an animation about them, nobody will care because probably not everyone watched the fight and not everyone like understand the base of the story or the base of the joke. So they will understand. So I try to focus I try to focus in the famous characters like Habib, like Connor, like Dana White, Joe Rogan. These characters that everybody know, that everybody seek to see.
Well, Mojahed, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me right here, right now on Half the Battle. I'm a fan for life. Keep up the great work. Let the fans know where they can follow you on social media and any message for them. Go ahead.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for the fan for staying in the journey so long. And let's keep doing what we're doing. And I promise you, the best are to come.